Hello, everyone. Coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm Scott Harrison, Artistic Director of Ironweed Productions. Our mission is telling stories rooted in the American experience, and I want to welcome you to Talking Theater Live, conversations with Santa Fe theater artists. And I'm very honored to have today with me as my guest, Santa Fe teacher, actor, director, writer, producer, and the Director of Arts and Theater Department Chair at New Mexico School for the Arts, Joey Chavez. Joey, thanks so much for joining me.
Great, thanks for having me. This is quite a surprise.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to looking forward to it. So we are here live at the rehearsal room for the New Mexico School for the Arts. And I thought I'd start off, Joey. I've actually had the pleasure with Ironweed of working with your students in 2012 with we had six cast members in our town, and we did an internship with Barry Child. And then this year, I'm thrilled with our production of The Crucible. We have four actors that are in the production and also four people help with the lighting crew. Wow. So it's just...
They're thrilled.
Oh, cool. Well,
yeah, they're really excited.
Oh, great. Well, I love working with the students here, and it's been also just for me to kind of see them over the years, just the new students that come in and the talent. It's really exciting. And I just wanted to ask you, is this the 8th year of?
Yes, we're starting our 8th year.
8th year of the school?
Right,
And
here in this room.
Wow. And you've been here from the beginning, right? You came
from the beginning, yeah. This was actually my kindergarten classroom.
Is that right?
Yeah, I went to kindergarten in this room right here. So when they showed me my room, said, "That's gonna be your classroom," I said, "I remember getting my mouth taped shut in this room when I was 5 years old."
So what was the name of the school then?
It was St. Francis.
Oh, that's
yeah,
okay.
That was St. Francis Cathedral School.
Oh, wow. Well, that must have been going back to your past.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the first show I ever did was on the stage right out there.
And what show was that?
It wasn't a show. We graduated from kindergarten. I don't know if they do that. So I
Right.
walked across the stage and said, "I'm going to be a priest."
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, wow. Oh, well, how cool. How cool that you're back here. So how long did your visions or your aspirations of being a priest, how long did that last?
About a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my uncle's a priest, and I thought that'd be a good thing to say for the family.
That's a nice, good move.
I was 5 years old. I didn't know what I wanted. I was like,
Yeah, wow.
doctor, president. No, I'll be a
Right.
priest.
I'll be a priest. And you actually, I saw, I was reading an interview you did with Robert Knott back before you came here when you were leaving Santa Fe High to come here. And I said you had at one point wanted to be an architect. Is that right?
Yes.
And when did that come about?
Well, it came about when I was in high school because I took a drafting class in 9th grade. Really liked it. Then I went to Santa Fe High, and I got to take architectural drafting. And in my senior year, I had architectural drafting for 3 hours in the morning, one sociology class, and then I went to drama class. So I went to college loving both architecture and theater. So I said, I'm going to be a double major.
Oh, so you did architecture
For 2 years.
Yeah. And this was at University of Oklahoma?
No, UNM.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I found that I loved doing both,
Right.
but I loved being with people more than I loved being with a piece of paper and a pencil.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really was for me. It was like the back and forth and the creating things, but with other people instead of alone.
And when you kind of initially were drawn to theater, was it acting that you were drawn to, or was it?
It was acting.
Acting, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember? What your first role, your first production was?
Yes, it was where City Hall is now. So that was mid-high.
Yeah.
So all the 9th graders in the city went to mid-high school.
Uh-huh.
And there was I was on student council, so we were going to a conference, and there was Mr. Clendenin was driving, and I was telling him jokes, and he said, "You're pretty funny." I said, "Thanks." He said, "You should join the drama club." And I said, "I'm not joining the drama club." And so he said, "I've got 12 girls and no guys." So
Right,
I grabbed my best friend Larry and said, "We're joining the drama club." And so that's kind of where it started. And I did a sketch called El Lobo is Coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what was the premise of the story? Was it?
It was, we created it. It was an improv that we created,
cool.
a short story where we were in line to get to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were at the back of the line. So we had to figure out how to get to the front of the line. So we just would go to the person in front of us and say, El Lobo is coming. And like, El Lobo's coming. Yeah, El Lobo's coming. So they would leave, and then so we get to the next person. So we just kept saying that El Lobo was coming and frightening everyone off until we got to the front of the line.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah. And then it was sold out, so it didn't work.
It's like had a little twist ending.
Yeah.
Man, so was that kind of the seed of because I mean I know you love to write, like you love to write and you love to teach writing. I mean, was that kind of the seed of
No,
creating stories and things?
writing came much later.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that wasn't until my senior year in undergraduate school.
that you got drawn to writing.
Yeah, I wasn't the best student in high school. I tried, but I actually thought I couldn't write because I would get my papers back and there would be like blood red ink all over them, you know, this X here, you know. But I didn't get any guidance, so I thought I just couldn't write. And so to get my undergraduate degree, I had to take the final English 101. I waited till my senior year, and I had a graduate assistant. So we had to write a kind of exploratory paper on something that intrigued me. So I wrote about the universe of my room, where I had an apartment, and there was glow paint all over the apartment. When I moved in, I didn't know because it was, you know, light during the day. First time I turned off the lights, it was like the constellations all over the walls and the ceiling. So I wrote about that, and her comment was, "You got a great imagination. I love your storytelling. You might want to check your spelling." So that was the general way of saying, you've got some ideas. You just have to kind of recraft how to do it. So then,
And did you feel like that that encouragement was kind of important? Yeah, I mean, that just kind of gave you the
yeah, it
impetus to
confirmed that
continue on.
I could write, or at least my idea was interesting.
Yeah,
I had no, I didn't want to be a playwright. I had no intention of being a playwright. That wasn't until graduate school, because I didn't get the roles I thought I needed to do my MFA in comparative styles of acting and things like that. So I went to the dean and said, I want to write my own one-man show. And he said no. So I thought about it, and I said, I want to write my own one-man show based on a historic figure. And he said, you can do that, because then there was a lot of research involved with that.
Oh man! And so now, who was that?
Toulouse-Lautrec.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so I had a one-hour one-man show called "Give Me Chastity, But Not Yet" on Toulouse-Lautrec.
Oh man! So I've never written and I've never done a one person show. What was, I mean, doing it for the first time, was it terrifying or was it exhilarating?
Yes.
Both.
Yeah. It was for an invited audience for my master's thesis. So I completed that. Then I went to Atlanta because I was got an internship at the Alliance Theater Company.
Right.
So I recrafted the play, hired a director, and then he directed me in it instead of my kind of figuring it out myself. And so I did that in Atlanta and North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Eventually went to New York and did it there.
Gosh.
That was my worst review ever.
It was in New York?
No, it was in Atlanta.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You remember any quotes?
Yeah. Still kind of hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure. Wow.
It was a short play by a short actor about a short artist that was 60 minutes too long.
Oh my God. Oh.
So that was the title of it, and I said, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And he later on confessed to me that he saw the Sunday matinee and he was really hungover, and then the
Nice.
theater was really hot.
Oh, that's good conditions to write a review. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's was it pretty quickly after that you tried writing for more than one character, or how did that kind of evolve?
I had toyed with writing. A friend of mine was at Circle Rep, and he was working with Lanford Wilson as an intern, and I wrote a script, and I sent it to my friend Tony, and I said, will you hand this to Lanford Wilson and see if he'd read it? And he did. And he sent it back to me with some really great notes that were very encouraging. So that was, then I said, okay, I'm gonna try this. So then I got a grant to write a show at the Alliance Theater, and so I wrote Not Teeny Tiny Potatoes, a different play, Wow, that was 30 plays ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
So you've written 30, about 30.
About 32 shows.
Boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
I mean, many of them, probably 15 of them one acts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but then,
So,
and then some extended one act, 70 minutes long, and then
Mm-hmm.
full length 2 act plays. So.
when you, I don't know, I'm always just fascinated with the writing process. How do you kind of come to the different, like the dialogue that a particular character has or a way of speaking?
Sometimes I cut out pictures from magazines, faces,
Uh-huh.
and then I just kind of tape them by the wall next to my computer. So I look at them when I'm trying to, type their dialogue so that they have their own point of view and their own syntax instead of it all sounding exactly the
Oh,
same.
right, interesting.
So that's, I found that very useful. And then there's sometimes when I listen to music that I think it influences the character,
Yeah,
whether it's slow and melodic or frenetic or, something like that. So, because it's easy for every character to sound the same. If you just
Yeah.
cover up the names, you can't really,
yeah.
it sounds like a monologue. It could
They're
be a
all-
monologue
right.
talking, or someone talking to themselves. So.
Oh, interesting. Do you ever like when you're out and about, hear some cool snippet of conversation? Like jot it
Eavesdropping
down?
is the best stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I remember.
I make my playwrights do that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. When we lived in New York, I mean, I just remember on the subway, you would just hear. I was like, if I were a writer, this would be just incredible, just dialogue or monologue or whatever.
Yeah.
When you were you lived in New York, kind of in the mid '80s ish.
No, I got my master's degree at the University of Oklahoma in '83.
Okay.
Then moved to Atlanta for my internship, which was 2 years long.
Okay.
That's where I got my union cards, being able to do that, and then stayed working in Atlanta till 90,
Mm-hmm.
and then moved from New York to 90 till 95. But it was kind of a weird time because I was working a lot, pretty fortunate, but people were saying, "Oh, so have you ever been to New York? You ever worked in New York?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it's like another degree."
Right.
So now I tell people I have my BFA, my MFA, and my NYC.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of, it was either Chicago, LA, or New York.
New York. Yeah.
So, and we had friends in New York, so that's why we moved there
Yeah.
for 5 years.
Yeah. And what was I don't know, kind of did you find the time in New York kind of a positive artistically? Or,
Oh, yeah.
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 What about it was just for you?
Well, just being around that number of people that were all in the creative process, writing and sharing work and getting together with actors and renting a rehearsal hall and just reading the work and getting up and trying to, to do it. And then I got fortunate enough to work at the Public Theater for 2 years
Oh, gosh.
in their Latino and Hispanic Playwrights Project. So we had really great actors, taking on our work.
Yeah.
Which of course they made it much better than I wrote it because they have that, they bring,
Right.
they bring something to it that was, I guess, their own personal aesthetic. That was,
Yeah.
but it was, and there were some rough times where I would call Robin, my wife, and I'd say, I'm going to throw the computer out the window. And she'd talk me down. She'd say, don't throw the computer out the window. Walk away from it. I'll fix it when I get home. Because it was always a formatting error. It was the
Yeah.
old screen where everything was green. All the text was green, and it was F something to make it spell check. It was like,
Yeah.
it was way beyond me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, did you, were there any kind of shows or productions or performances that you remember when you were there that just stood out, like, wow, this thing blew me away?
Do you mean watching?
Yeah.
Being being in the audience opening night of Angels in America, Fifth Row Center was like one of those magical theater moments where, I'm transformed. And then I saw a production of The Chairs in a little tiny loft theater with maybe 18 seats, and that blew me away.
Oh, gosh.
It was so raw and right in your face, and it was so the variety of houses and theater spaces, and just the commitment of many of the actors just to do it.
Yeah. That's. I remember we went when we lived there, and we were there from like '98 to 2002, and we went to a production of The Iceman Cometh with Kevin Spacey, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just one of, and we happened to get the TKTS. We had these great seats for half price, and it was magical. And then Paul Giamatti was in it, and
Yeah.
anyway, those are such cool experiences when you have those. I mean, I remember when I was in DC, they used to have the Shakespeare Theater. I guess now it's the Folger Theater, but it was in this old kind of Elizabethanish, theater, and they had Stacy Keach playing Richard III, and it was just one of those, things where I just walked out and I was just buzzing. I was just, anyway, that's such a great thing. What brought you back to Santa Fe?
Our son was born.
Oh,
So my wife Robin was also an actress. She was a union stage manager.
uh-huh.
She stage managed my one-man show, the Toulouse-Lautrec, there in New York, and other shows. And she got tired of the business, of show business, so she went and worked on Wall Street, where the benefits were good.
Yeah.
So our son was born. He only cost us the taxi ride home. Well, there and back. And then about 9 months old, she said, "I don't want him to learn how to walk in Manhattan."
Yeah.
And at that point, I had gotten much further than I ever thought I would. I mean, I'd been able to work from LA to New York and have my work done in other cities while I was still in New York, so I could go see a production for better or worse with what they did with the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I said, yeah, I think I could, I always loved Santa Fe. I said I could move back because I can write from anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can travel out if I need to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. And you grew up here, and you're just telling me that you're one of the original families, and 14th generation, or
Yeah, so 14th, 16th, one of those ones.
Gosh.
Yeah, one of the original families.
How does it? Again, I was talking to Matthew Montoya about this last week because my father's in the military, and we moved around quite a bit growing up. I don't know. How does it feel being in a place where you just have such deep roots and connections?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, but because my father used to say, Santa Fe has changed, obviously.
Mm.
He said, but if the original settlers walked onto the plaza right now and looked up towards the mountains right over there, they would look exactly the same. And so the panorama and everything around the city is exactly the same, going back however many years to who they are. And then to kind of have some connection with it. I'm fortunate I have an uncle who did a lot of research on the family, so that's how I know where my family came from in Spain and then settled here.
Oh gosh! Oh wow! How was it? And when you were growing up, kind of high school age, that was what, the early 70s?
Early 70s, yeah.
What was Santa Fe like when you were like in the late 60s, early 70s?
Hippies.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the hippies. They were so cool because they were so foreign to me.
Yeah.
Like we're coming up right now on Zozobra
Uh-huh.
and Fiestas, which back then was the same weekend. So Zozobra would be Friday night, and then Saturday night would be the pet parade, and then Sunday would be Fiestas. Monday would be the big parade because it was Memorial Day,
Yeah.
and then school would actually start. And so it was a lot different. It felt more community oriented. But I think as much the word spread and people, the automobile, and people having the ability to come here a lot more than just having a single car in a home. I think that influenced a lot of people to come to Santa Fe and see what the culture was like. But then their influx changed the culture, as it does anywhere. So, and I'm not afraid of change. I just could see it happening. That it used to be all families at the parades, and now it's a lot of different people, especially at Zozobra, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Yeah, I go there every year.
You go every year?
It's my little tradition.
Oh,
yeah, I go.
God, you got stamina.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years.
Last year was tough because it was so crowded. This is the first year I'd watched it kind of on the outside of the fence because I just couldn't even get in. So we'll see if I go Friday. But,
Yeah.
Man, well, and when you came back after graduating, you went to Oklahoma and Atlanta, New York. Was it a big did you notice a kind of a huge change in the city?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the sheer size, and
Yeah.
everything was not what it used to be. So that's how I give directions. Oh, that building used to be a Safeway, and everybody was like, that was never here when it was a Safeway. Well, it's a Safeway, and then it turned into a Buffalo Exchange, and then it turned into Home, and now it's where Body is.
Yeah.
So it's like you can see
Yeah, the progression of.
the progression of all the buildings. And so you know someone who's been here for a while because they tell you what everything used to be.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
fun.
That's,
And the Yucca Drive-In was the end of town.
okay. Oh.
Yeah, so out there, just past Jackalope.
Was-
Then Cerritos Road and a few businesses that kind of trickled out, so it's just grown tremendously. $5.99, there was nothing back there.
Yeah.
That's where we hunted rabbits,
Uh-huh.
yeah, or rode our dirt bikes and stuff like that.
Oh, man. And well,
Dang, I'm sounding old
I
here.
know,
It's
back
like,
in the
I
day.
remember when I was a
Back
kid.
in the 1965.
Get off my lawn.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Well, and you came back in 95, so you've been here back about 22
20,
years.
yeah.
Now, getting back to New Mexico School for the Arts, I love that this is your kindergarten classroom.
We changed the carpet.
Yeah, oh, well, that's good. Yeah, there's been at least one carpet change.
Yeah.
One of the things that I notice, when I've come in to, for the particular projects, and we've had, oh, we're doing a play, I'd love to cast some students, or, and you graciously invite me into the company meeting that you all have on Friday afternoon.
Right.
And it's just really cool to see that you just create this sense of unity amongst all the students. And I wondered if you could just talk a little bit, because you've founded and grown this program, just about your philosophy and how you instill it into the students.
In a nutshell, some of my core beliefs are that working with actors in New York and working with young actors here, I treat them no different. I have to watch my language, but I treat them for me, it's always to serve the art form. And if that's my end goal, then I pass on that kind of I think ethic and respect for theater. I also believe firmly that an adult cannot be more honest than a child. So in their work, if they're approaching it honestly, then they're doing the best that they possibly can at that moment. And so we recognize that, and we also recognize that they're young, and we always want to build a community of the company. So we don't call it, we're company members. So when the freshmen come in the first day, we welcome company members. Mm-hmm. And then when we say goodbye to the leaving company members, it's always, you'll always be a part of this company, but now you're somewhere else. So and I'm fortunate to have Charles Gamble and Barbara Hatch and Kate Chavez before, Elizabeth Wiseman was with us, and we all had a similar I think feel about kind of respect for the work, and I think that kind of trickles down into them not being afraid to work hard, being challenged, but then being celebrated when things go well. And our philosophy is we're not there yet, so we don't want them to fear direction, as you haven't done it right, but try it this way, so that because I mean it's personal. I mean I hated reading reviews until someone gave me some good advice.
Yeah.
I said, if you're gonna think that the good reviews are true, then you got to believe that the bad reviews are true too. So it's kind of hard, as to kind of work so hard and then somebody just slams your work. So we don't, obviously we don't do reviews or anything like that, but we do have a debrief after every show. We talk about what happened for you, where was the struggles, and where were your victories. So it doesn't end closing night, if that makes sense. And then we roll everything into the next class or next production, so that it continues to grow. And we also tell them we make mistakes, and we own up to them. Like, yeah, okay, yesterday I was a really bad teacher.
Don't do that.
Sorry. Or when I give direction, I said, but that's not what we did yesterday. I said, that was yesterday's director. But today's director is a little better.
That's right. Yeah, don't listen to that dude.
Yeah, that
Listen
guy,
to
I
this
don't know what he
guy.
was talking about.
Yeah. Gosh, well, yeah, I know one thing that been really impressed with just with working with the students, and also just auditioning the students, is just the questions that they ask. I mean, they're just very very thoughtful questions about either whether the character they're reading or the play. And I really feel that sense that you say you're trying to build, that everyone just kind of has ownership in something that's larger than themselves.
Yeah.
Which I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and we pick a goal every year. So this year we're focusing on deep reading, and how to watch a play, how to listen to a play, how to read a play. And so we have conversations about that. And the instructors have read a canon of work, but we get incoming students, ninth graders, who may have never read a full-length play. And so so they don't know how, literally. So we have to then, we have the discussion of, in deep reading, what's going on here, why did that happen, things like that. So then they can go back. But then it filters into their academic class as well. When they're in there in English or creative writing or even science or math. Kate Chavez was having a rehearsal, and they were looking at dramatic structure for 6 characters in search of an author. And one of the students, he was in a math classroom, went to the back and he pulled out a math textbook and he said, no, okay, we're not talking about Freytag's triangle of dramatic structure. This is more of tangents. And so the students were writing all these things on the board in a mathematical formula.
Oh, cool.
Trying to break down 6 characters. And of course, Kate just sat back and said, I'm not taking any of the credit for this. They did it, but she kind of opened the door.
That's cool.
For them to make some kind of, connections in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that is really cool. Yeah, I know. The last year when you had folks in to work to discuss plays with your different students, and yeah, it was just the other thing that was fascinating to me is we talked about. I talked about Clyde Borden Park with the seniors,
right,
which is a great play I'd never read, which for me was really exciting, and also for me to have a play that I wasn't really familiar with, and I just read it. And discussing it with the students, and they all, there were students that came at it from a directing standpoint, from a writing standpoint, from an acting standpoint. It was just such a cool conversation. So yeah, I really, I just really love and admire what you all have created and are building here.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate because I have autonomy.
Yeah.
At the school, all the chairs have autonomy within their department to create and craft them the way we want, because we're in trimesters in the theater department. The other departments are in semesters. But that was trial and error. The first year we went to semesters, found it was too long for some classes. So then we went to quarters, found that was too short. The third year we tried trimesters, and we realized that was just right. So we found the right formula, but it wasn't, it's because we continually go back at the end of the year and say what worked, what didn't work, what should we change, to move forward like that. And all the credit to my team, because they are so open to suggestions, ideas. We were talking yesterday about the design for their season. Our fall season is 4 shows running 4 weekends. So we're going to turn the stage over 4 times. So we decided to build a unit set. And so Mr. Gamble said, what are you thinking on this? And I said, well, do you want to go on the floor or do you want to be on the stage? And he said, are those my only 2 options? I said, no, throw something else out. And he said, how about a rake from the stage to the floor? And I was like, great. Will it work for you? Will it work for you? Well, yeah. So that's going to be that'll be our set. It's not going to go all the way to the deck, but it will be some place for them to work that we've never done here before. So that's the kind of things that just kind of happen here.
Yeah.
Because we're open to change and possibility. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, we're just limited by electricity. That's all.
Yeah, that's
for lighting.
Just that little thing.
We keep Boeing breakers.
And you're when you all perform, you all do you do different venues by design to kind of have your students? I mean, I know there's a certain level where it's a necessity, but also, do you find there's a value for your students in just having to do theater and all different types of?
There is a value.
Yeah.
The first couple of years we used Warehouse 21 and James A. and the Lensic. Quite expensive to rent, But then it's just moving out and loading in and putting it up and then moving out. When the students were missing a lot of class because they were there. And then we decided a couple years ago to do the majority of the shows here. So that's what we do now. We will go to James A. at the end of January, and then we'll work in the Lensic. But we'll do 6 shows in here. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. So I had one last question. I was just curious in terms of teaching. You've been teaching. You taught for many years at Santa Fe High. You've taught for many years here at New Mexico School for the Arts. What is that like? That moment or those moments in teaching now that still just are kind of the most like, this is why I love teaching.
They happen frequently when the students have an aha moment, when they finally get it, because you can talk about it and rehearse it. And I'm a believer in the visceral. They'll do an exercise and did you get it? And they all go. And that means they didn't. If I just get the little nod of the head, I said, you didn't get it. So do it again. And then when I finally asked them, I said, did you feel the difference? Because I saw it. And then they go, yes, now I know what you're talking about. I was in a totally wrong place. So those kind of moments where they have that aha. And then also when they come back at us with really intelligent questions or a great rehearsal where they've challenged us and we walk into the office and we're like, oh my God, you know what they did to me today? That was brilliant. That was great. Because they're inquisitive. I think that's every teenager. If you give them a venue and an opportunity to do that, they're just hungry to question and to figure it out because, we've ruined the world. In every generation, it's like, and I thought that too. It's like, man, you guys we got overpopulation, we got water pollution, we got air pollution, and that's what I was concerned with in high school. And now they're coming back with many of the same topics, but now they're much more politically adept, probably because they're inundated on their phones and on their television and day in and day out with all the news of what's politically going on and culturally that's going on in the country. So they're pretty savvy, pretty smart, and I don't have the answers for them oftentimes, but I'm glad they ask the questions.
Well, Joey, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.
This is really, it was really exciting, and I just loved the chance to hear a lot of things that I didn't know about you, and also just your philosophy that you have here, and it really does. It really does come through, and it's just great to have this time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all very much. I just want to quickly give a little closeout here. This is live, but if you're not able to see, weren't able to see all this, or you're not able to see future interviews, we'll post them on our Facebook page, which is at Ironweed Productions on Facebook. So check that out. We'll have it saved in videos. We do have an interview about every week. We don't have a particular set date and time, but I'll tell you, for those watching, we do have an interview set up for next Wednesday at 6:30, and we will be interviewing Santa Fe actress Anne Roylance. So thank you again, Joey.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us, and until next time.
Thank you all.